going Alabama where I'm from. Don't throw your hands up, put it up, you acting. I ain't talking about it, I'm talking about the ham. I'm talking about the deal. ALABA, this what I did. Alabama while I was going Alabama where I'm from. This ain't about the ham. I'm talking about the deal. ALABA, this what I live. Alabama.
And we say, what's going on, everybody? Christian Ballard of Ballard Sports Media coming at you for week 2 of the college football season. Technically week 3 because I know we had week 0, but it's week 2 for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And what better way to get things started here on a Friday? Well, I say that I record on Wednesday, but you're watching this hopefully on a Friday afternoon. What better way to get ready than Tidal Wave Talk? We do this each week during the Alabama football season. This is year 2, and each week we're going to look at the schedule, or, well, I say look at the schedule. We'll talk about what they've done each week. So far, they've only played one game, but it's amazing because we focus in on specifically Alabama. We'll have a couple other previews here or there. We'll make picks and stuff throughout the week, and we'll talk about it. But you guys know what's up. I'm an Alabama fan. Now, I'm also working to be a sports journalist. Things are going great at the radio station and everything. I try to be fair. I try to be honest. I try to be unbiased. I do not show favoritism. At some point, I'm going to pick Alabama to lose a game somewhere. Is this today? We'll find out. But you look at this, and we talk week 2, the Texas Longhorns at the Alabama Crimson Tide, number 11 at number 3. Both teams start out 1-0. No losses yet. Texas, you look at what they're doing. Really good win last week, 37-10 over Rice. Quinn Ewers, 19 of 30, 260 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jalen Milroe, he surprised some people. Now, again, I think this is the first test for both quarterbacks, both defenses, both everything. Both teams played good programs. Both teams basically they played a lesser opponent in terms that it's not a bad team, but it's a game where it's a gimme game. You're just going to win the game. And if you lose, you're going to get mocked for the rest of the season. But they didn't lose, so both teams at this moment don't have to be mocked. So Quinn Ewers, 19 of 30 in his first game this year. 260 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jalen Milroe, how about this? His first start for Alabama, actually his second start because he did start the A&M game last year behind Bryce Young, who was hurt. 13 of 18 for Jalen Milroe for 194 yards, 3 touchdowns. No picks. Will we see some in this game? We're going to find out. Total yards, Alabama had 431 last week. Texas had 458. And I don't know about you, but will we consider Rice to be better than Middle Tennessee State, who Alabama played? Maybe. Maybe not. I really don't know how you would compare those two teams. We talked about Middle Tennessee last week, I should say, and how they beat Miami, and Stockstill's a good coach, and they got this, they got that. They were able to score a touchdown late on the Tide. 56-7 was the final score for Alabama. 37-10, the score for Texas. Now we go ahead and let's pull up this week's game on ESPN. So go ahead and click this here. Let it load up. There we go. Put that on the side. I can zoom in a little bit so we can get a better view, better look. So we look at this game. Alabama clearly the favorite. And I say clearly not to be a jerk or anything. I don't want to, come out and say, oh, it's obvious, isn't it? Because I really don't think it is. I think they're giving, if this were in Texas again, would Texas be favored in this week 2 matchup? Chances are they probably wouldn't be, but at the same time, I think you give them a clear shot, a clear chance. The line has Alabama minus 7 points. Literally one score. Literally a touchdown and a PAT. This is going to be an amazing game. Now, one thing I'm fixing to look up, I kind of not that I threw this to together last minute or anything. I didn't do that. Um it's uh it's one of those where, you know, Alabama and Texas, like they've met several times. They have. So Alabama, before last year, had not played Texas since the 2009-2010 BCS championship. They met last year. It was a historic game, really good game. When you look at the record overall for this series and these teams, they first actually met back in 1902. 1902. And it ended up being a tie, actually. So you had a tie, but then in 1915, Texas won 20 to nothing. Then Texas won 19 to 10 2 years later. Then they meet in 1948. It's 27 to 7. Basically, you didn't have Alabama winning this series until that national championship with Mark Ingram and Greg McElroy and everybody in 2009. So Texas leads 7-2 and 1. I mean, outside of Alabama winning the last 2 meetings, you could have a case that says Texas owns Alabama. You could. Honestly. They had a 4-game win streak. They didn't play like 4 years in a row, but between 1902 and 1948, Texas and Alabama met. They met 4 times, and all 4 times Texas won the game. And some of those pretty big, actually. Uh, 20 to nothing. There was a 19 to 10 game. There was a 27 to 7. There was a 10-0 shutout in Tuscaloosa. So Texas at the moment, outside of losing the last 2, you could say all time owns Alabama and has their number. So can Alabama get their 3rd win in the series? It's possible. Will Texas get their 8th win in the series and extend it? It's possible. This is going to be a great matchup. This could be, and I don't know about you guys, I would say last year at the time of this game, after it was finished, you said this will end up being the game of the year, right? This has to be it. Then we had the Peach Bowl with Georgia and Ohio State. Well, what about this game this year? Could this be the game of the year? Maybe. It depends on how the playoffs shake out in bowl season and how does rivalry week. We won't know until the end of the season. We won't know until the end of the season. The line is out. It favors Alabama, rightfully so, but only by 7 points. So you look at this game and you're saying Texas has a chance again, even though it's at Bryant-Denny. Quinn Ewers is back. He should be fully healthy for this game. He was fully healthy last year until he got hurt. And the joke that went around was, because remember in the 2009 championship game when Colt McCoy got hurt and Gilbert had to come in? Oh, if Colt McCoy doesn't get hurt, maybe Texas has a chance. The same was said last year about Quinn Ewers. If Quinn did not get hurt and Hudson Card didn't come in, what would have happened? 20-19, Alabama had to hit a field goal from Will Riker. 20-19. Texas almost had it. And after that game, Texas kind of lost their rhythm a bit. I think, what did they end up? 8-5 last year. They looked like a preseason team to pick a little bit, but we were hesitant. I really believe this is a good year for Texas. I really believe that they could run that table. After Alabama, they got teams like Wyoming and Baylor, they got Kansas. They're going to be tough, but it's not going to be too much that they can't overcome. Last year, after that game, they ended up losing 4 more. So they had an 8-4 regular season. Now, that's not bad for year 2 of Sarkisian, but then they lost a bowl game. So they went 8-5 and they lost to Washington, who is supposed to be a really good team this year in the Pac-12. But you lost to teams like Texas, who could be good this year. Oklahoma State, we'll see. Who made the national championship. They were not bad losses, and they were all points. They had a hard time with the close games, except for a 3-point win over Iowa State and a 7-point win over Kansas State. So they did kind of have that tough road with the close games for Texas, but they ended up doing pretty good. And if we expect them to be better than 8 wins last year, what's their ceiling? I know this isn't a preview video for Texas necessarily, but think about that. This game could alter their season. It could be their first loss. It could be the upset of the year, and they run the table. I'm not here to hype them up too much. I'm not here to take anything away from Alabama. But what if? It's a what if game. What if Texas pulls this off in Tuscaloosa on Saturday night? Right? So again, 6:00 game Central Time in the state of Alabama, Tuscaloosa, Bryant-Denny Stadium. Vivid Seats has tickets as low as $170. 80.9, 81% says Alabama wins on the matchup predictor, leaving Texas with a 19% chance. Is that too low for Texas? Is it too high for Alabama? 7-point spread, 54.5 is the over-under. I'm not a betting man. You guys can talk amongst yourselves what you want to do. I think the keys to this game are going to be, does Alabama's defense play for 4 quarters? Does Texas have enough defense to keep up with Jalen Milroe and Justice Haynes? Well, I say Justice Haynes. I mean, it was Jace McClellan really who was the go-to running back. Justice Haynes got a little bit of carries out there. Roydell Williams. Gonna rotate the backs for Alabama? Are they going to play multiple running backs in this game? It starts with Jace McClellan. Can Texas stop the run game? Let's look at Texas defense for a second. David Benda, with a G at the start of his last name. I don't want to butcher it. I'm going to say Benda. Maybe the G is silent. 6 tackles, leads the team. Jalen Ford, a linebacker, has an interception from last week. Now, we're not going to base, like I said, we're not going to base Alabama off Middle Tennessee, and we're not going to base Texas off of Rice. 5 tackles last week. David Benda, who we just mentioned, had half a sack for 5 yards. Byron Murphy, who you need to watch, had half a sack for 4-yard loss. Byron Murphy the second. You look at the rest of this, 2 sacks. 2 sacks. Those half sacks add up to 1. Ethan Burke on the defensive edge had a sack for 6 yards. So Burke, Sweat, I'm sorry, Benda, not Sweat. He didn't have any sacks, but he had 5 tackles, which is pretty good. There's a couple different names to know on this Texas defense. And the joke is, well, they don't play defense in the Big 12 because it's so high scoring. That's the joke. I have noticed, has anybody else noticed? You look at Brent Venables in Oklahoma, they're struggling with offense. We'll see if they get it together this year, but they got the defense down. Has anyone noticed that some of the defenses, Kansas, Baylor, TCU, whoever, outside of that Georgia game, I thought TCU did okay on defense, at least to start, but I think it got progressively worse, even though they made a national championship. There are some Big 12 teams that have figured out defense a little bit, and I think it's amazing to see. I think it's great. I think that it is something that we look at and say, you know what, maybe it's taking a turn. I love the high scoring games. I love a shootout, but I love the hard hitting nose tackles. I love the linebackers. I love sacks, fumbles, interceptions, pick sixes, kickoff return. I love football in general. We love it all. But I'm more of a defensive guy myself. I love a low scoring affair like we had last year in this game. I expect it to be a little more high scoring than this, but literally not by much, maybe by a few points. I also expect there to be those moments in the game where you look at it and you say, "Holy cow, I didn't expect this." You know, is you know, what does this game come down to? Well, is it who's more explosive, or is it who can stop the offense? Because think about it now. Think about it. You got Jalen Milroe and you got Quinn Ewers, right? You got Isaiah Bond and Ja'Cory Brooks for Alabama. You got all these receivers over there. Then you got Texas with Xavier Worthy and Jordan Whittington. Jatavion Sanders, the tight end, had a touchdown. You have these receivers, or you have the secondary. So are we looking at the quarterbacks and the wide receivers because they're so great and they're some of the best out there right now? Or are we going to look at this game and because they're some of the best, we want to look at the defense and say, can you stop them? Dallas Turner for Alabama at media days said joyless murder ball is the goal, is the mindset for the Alabama defense. Can they bring that to Bryant Denny Saturday night against the Texas Longhorns and Quinn Ewers? I think that they can. Question is, are they going to? Jaden Blue is a new running back. He's got 10 carries for 55 yards last week. He's the lead rusher. Xavier Worthy, I mentioned, no touchdowns for him, but 7 receptions for 90 yards. Isaiah Bond, 5 receptions for Alabama, 76 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Milroe, the lead rusher, a couple different backs that Alabama could go with. We didn't see too much of the run game outside of what Milroe was able to do. He had 2 rushing touchdowns against Middle Tennessee, 7 carries for 48 yards. It was amazing. It was really good to see. So, that being said, I think there's a lot on both sides of the ball, and it's going to be one of those games where you just don't know what you're going to get. Usually, you would think in a game like this, you'd say, well, the quarterbacks are great, so I'd expect the offense, but the defenses have shown up this year, even for Texas. But again, I'll say this. Texas played Rice. Yeah. Rice is not Alabama. Alabama played MTSU. Well, MTSU is not Texas. They're not back. See what I did there? Anyway, this is the first true test for both of these teams. And by the way, We're going to see this game more often when Texas gets to the SEC next year. We won't see it next year, but maybe in 25, 26, somewhere in there. We'll see it more often. Could it be annual? Possible. Maybe. Could we see it again this year? What if the loser of this game wins out? And what if the winner runs the table and drops only one game? And both teams win their conference. What if they make the playoffs? We get a semifinal rematch or a natty rematch. I'm not trying to hype Texas up to go that far, and I'm not trying to do that for Alabama, but these teams have potential in 2023, and you're going to see that on the field on Saturday. All right, time to get into our predictions for this Saturday's game. And again, I mentioned the spread says 7 points, but I look at this game and for the Crimson Tide to win, they got to have a quarterback. They got to have the offense. They got to be explosive. The offensive line's got to look good. First true test for Jalen Milroe this year. First test for Isaiah Bond and all the other receivers. First test for the offensive line. Can the offensive line hold up against this defense? They struggled miserably last year on the road. They have to bring their A game this year and prove that they belong. Now, I mentioned Texas has some good players out there. They got good pass rush. They're going to be one of the best in the Big 12. Can they apply the pressure to Jalen Milroe? That's a good question. And by the way, even though Jalen Milroe won the job, I made a comment on Facebook the other day, and Alabama fans said, "You're crazy." But what if he struggles in this game? Could we see him benched for Ty Simpson or Tyler Buckner? Most likely Tyler Buckner because he's the second quarterback. Does he lose his starting job? I hope not. I love Jalen Milroe. I love what he did last week, and I'm pulling for him. It's his team. It's his job to lose, just like it was the past 2 years with Bryce. It's up to him. This is his moment to shine. This is his team. This is the game of the week. College Game Day is going to be there. I don't know where SEC Nation's going to be there too. So, at least from what I saw, I know for a fact College Game Day is going to be there. By the way, we will be live on Saturday for College Game Day. I got to work during the games, so we'll be live for College Game Day just so we can get a little bit more action for Texas and Alabama. So we'll be live for a tailgate College Game Day this Saturday, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I'll be at home, but it's in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Again, the line is 7 points. I'm going to say it's not covered. I'm going to say a 5-point game. And I got to say this, Alabama fans, hear me out. I love Alabama, and I'll be pulling for them on Saturday. And I hope and pray that I am wrong. Like, I really hope and pray that I'm wrong because I don't want to see them lose. But there's something inside of my gut. Like, there's a gut feeling that says, man, Texas can pull this off. I'm going to say Alabama takes their first loss of the season, and I'm going to give it to the Texas Longhorns. Now, I could eat my words, and if so, it is what it is. I eat my words. Alabama, if they wanted to, could come out and win like 45-20. Texas, on the other hand, I don't think they win in a big, like, blowout fashion. I just don't see that. But I have a feeling Texas is going to be prepared. I think they're upset. Because did you see? Okay, so last year for the game, they did not let the $1 Million Band travel. Or no, they did? No, actually, they didn't. No, so they didn't travel. but they're letting the Texas band travel, but they're going to put them in some special seating to where they got to be super high up. Like you see in the background here, I want to say that above my face here in the background is where they're going to be at that very top section next to the BSM logo. I want to say it's going to be there, but I could be wrong. They got them in some special seating, and if I'm the Texas band, I'm like, that sucks. But it is what it is, and Alabama's just kind of giving them some crap, giving them some payback. That being said, let's get back on track here. Prediction time. I got to give a score. I have to. I'm going to give one every week. Again, I mentioned the line is at 7 points Bama, so they do like the Crimson Tide. It favors Alabama. I'm going to go with my gut, though. I just think Quinn Ewers and company gets it done. And I think what it comes down to, this is going to be a close game. I don't know if Jalen Milroe can come through on that. I'm not saying he can't. I just personally, my gut says he probably won't this time. I know he had the A&M game, but the defense gave him credit. This could be one of those where Alabama has the ball last and they have to score. I don't know if we could do it. I hope I'm wrong. As a fan, I hope we win. I hope Alabama wins this game. I hope they win big. Well, I like entertainment, and close games bring that. So I kind of hope it's close. But I hope Alabama wins. But I'm going to actually go with the Texas Longhorns, and I'm going to give a score of 28-23. 5-point game, not even a touchdown. Texas wins by 5. 28-23 in favor of the Longhorns. And Alabama, unfortunately, will fall to 1-1, their record after game 2. They got a game with USF next week. They should most likely win that. That's on the road in South Florida at Raymond James Stadium, home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, by the way. Go Bucks. But focus on one game at a time. Prove me wrong, Alabama. Prove me wrong. Say, no, we ain't losing. Say, no, it's not going to be close. Say no. Prove me wrong. This is what I think will happen. This is just a prediction. Is it what I want to happen as a fan? Absolutely not. But I can't be biased. I got to give credit where it's due. And Alabama always finds room to mess up. Outside of 2020 and 2009. Those are 2 undefeated seasons in Nick Saban's 16-year history at the capstone. That's it. He's in, 17th season? He's had 2 undefeated seasons. He could have one this year if these players really wanted it, but it's so hard to go 12-0. It's so hard to go 15-0. I know Georgia did it last year, but man, it's hard. It's hard. This is a first true test for Jalen Milroe, and I think he'll do great, but it's going to be a tough one to call. It's going to be tough. I love you guys. I will not be live for any games on Saturday, but again, you can catch the College Game Day tailgate where we react to College Game Day and we talk and make picks and everything like that. We'll just hang out, have a great time Saturday morning. You can catch that right before College Game Day comes on. I love you guys. Thanks so much for watching and tuning in. We'll see you next week on Tidal Wave Talk. Please like, comment, and subscribe right here to Ballard Sports Media for more sports content. And until next time, folks, Ballard Sports Media. Check it out. Love y'all. Peace.
The Alabama anthem. Go throw your hands up. Put it up, your action. I ain't talking about it. I'm talking about the hell. I'm talking about the deal. ALABA, this what I did. Alabama, where I was born. Alabama, where I'm from. Go throw is blowing